Arkham Horror the card game isn't just another deck of cards. It's one of the most immersive, story-driven tabletop experiences you'll ever play. But here's the problem. The second you go to buy in, it looks like an absolute chaos. Core sets, expansion cycles, investigator packs. It's enough to drive you mad before you even shuffle your first deck. So let's cut through the noise. This is a full review and buying guide for Arkham Horror the card game in 2025. In this series, I'll walk you through everything, what the game is, what you need to start, how it's played, why the deck building is so addictive, and what makes it stand out as modern classic and become. And because this is Tabletop Nexus, we're not just explaining rules, we're taking energy, excitement, and the why behind it all. Now, first things first. Arkham Horror the card game was created by designers Nate French and MJ Newman. It's been published by Fantasy Flight Games since 2016. And it's not just another collectible card game. It's what Fantasy Flight calls LCG, living card game. That means no booster pack gambling, no chasing rares. Every expansion is a fixed set, so when you buy a box, you know exactly what you're getting inside. No randomness, no filler, just story, mechanic, and investigators. And what a story it is. As this game drags you straight into the dark corners of Lovecraft horror. It's not just battling monsters, you're investigators. You're battling monsters, you're investigating mysteries, making gut-wrenching decisions, and living with the consequences. Fail a scenario, campaign doesn't end. Instead, your investigator carries scars, weakness, and trauma into the next chapter. That's what makes Arkham unique. Even defeat punishes the narrative forward. And at its core, this is a cooperative experience for 1 or 4 players. Each of you take on the role of investigators like Roland, the hardened cop, or Angie, the waitress, terrifying mystic powers. And together, you try to unravel the mysteries of Arkham. The game runs against you using 2 decks. The Agenda deck, which represents the approaching doom, and the Act deck, which tracks your progress. If the Agenda deck advances too far, evil wins. If you push the Act deck through to the end, you win. It's simple, it's elegant, and it creates tension from the very first turn. So what do you actually need to get started? Just 1 box, the revised core set. This one. Don't bother with the old, smaller, square one from 2016. That's junk. It didn't even have enough cards to play. You'll end up frustrated. The revised core set, released in 2021, fixes that completely. Inside, you'll find everything. 5 investigators, a full set of staple cards, all the tokens, the chaos bag, and mini campaign called Night of the Zealot. That 3-part story is a perfect tutorial. It teaches you the basics of movement, clue gathering, combat, and upgrading your deck. And it's replayable. You'll come back to it more than once, trust me. Now you can also grab 1 or 2 starter decks if you want a plug and play option for certain classes, but they're not required. The core alone is more than enough to get you along, especially if you're playing solo or 2-handed. If you got a 4-player group, starter decks do help balance the card options, but again, they're optional. So let's recap. The first section, Arkham Horror Living Card Game, or LCG, is a cooperative, narrative-driven living card game from Fantasy Flight, designed by Nate French and MJ Newman. It combines tense card play with branching storylines. And the one thing you will absolutely need to get going is the revised core set. That's your gateway into the mythos, your toolkit for learning the game, and your first taste of what makes Arkham so addictive. Now that we've cracked open the core, let's see how it all sets up in Act 2. I'm walking you through the table layout, the decks, the chaos bag, and exactly how a scenario begins. Stick with me. Once you see Arkham in action, you'll understand why this game has become a fan favorite around the world. All right, you've got your shiny revised core set in hand. Now let's talk about what happens the moment you crack it open. Because setup in Arkham Horror LCG takes the first big swing at immersing you. And it's where a lot of new players either feel the hype or get overwhelmed. Don't worry, we're going to keep it simple and exciting. First, you're going to pick an investigator. These are your characters, your avatars in the story. In the core set, you get 5. Roland the cop, Daisy the librarian, Angie the waitress with psychic flair, Skids, the rogue, and Wendy the street-smart survivor. Each one comes with a set of stats, willpower, intelligence, combat, and agility that define how you face challenges. They also come with a signature strength and a personal weakness. That weakness is going to haunt you throughout the campaign, and it's one of the coolest thematic touches of the game. Once you've chosen your investigator, you'll build the deck, 30 cards, plus your signatures, plus your weakness. Now don't panic. If you're brand new, the core gives you recommended starter list, so you can shuffle up and play without doing any heavy deck building. Later on, when you know the cards, you'll start tweaking and optimizing. That's part of the long-term fun. Now let's build the board state. Every scenario uses a set locations. These are the cards set in the middle of the table and form the map of Arkham. You'll be exploring. Each location has a shroud value, which is difficulty for finding clues, and there's a clue value, which shows you how many clues are waiting to be discovered. Flip a couple of those cards over, lay them out in a small map, and you've got your neighborhood, your train station, your haunted house, whatever the story demands. On one side of the table, you'll set up the act deck and the agenda deck. Think of them as dual timers. The act deck is your goal advance if you spend clues to push the story forward. The agenda deck is the mythos pushing back every turn. It ticks closer to disaster. Let the agenda advance too far, and things get real bad real fast. I love this mechanic because it constantly reminds you that Arkham isn't a leisure stroll. You're racing against the time, and the clock is not your friend. Now we build the encounter deck. This is the dark heart of Arkham. It's full of monsters, treacheries, and story events that the game throws at you. Shuffle it up and place it near the agenda deck. Every turn, you'll reveal cards from it. And trust me, those cards will ruin your day. And that's the point. And finally, the most iconic piece, the chaos bag. Instead of rolling dice, Arkham uses a bag full of random tokens. Whenever you attempt a skill test, whether it's searching a library for clues or punching a ghoul in the face, you draw from the chaos bag. Tokens range from small negatives to a brutal failure, plus the dreaded tentacle, which is auto fail. The bag is full of heartbeat of Arkham. It makes every test tense and unpredictable. Once all that's in place, you're ready to start your first scenario, Gathering, the opener of the Night of the Zealot. The story begins in a simple setup. Something strange is happening in your home, and before long, you're facing horrors, calls at your door. It's short, sharp introduction, and it wastes no time showing you how dangerous Arkham really is. Here's the flow of play. Each round begins with a mythos phase. You add a doom to the agenda, and each player draws an encounter card. This sets the tone. Bad stuff happens first. Then comes the investigation phase. Each investigator takes 3 actions. You can move, investigate, play a card, fight, evade, draw a card, or gain resources. After that, it's the enemies phase, where monsters act. And finally, the upkeep phase, where you reset and draw new cards. It sounds straightforward, right? But what makes Arkham so addictive is how those simple phases combine with thematic, unpredictable gameplay. You'll plan your moves carefully. Then the chaos bag and the encounter deck will laugh in your face, send everything spiraling into madness. And that's exactly what makes the setup so brilliant. You don't just prepare the board. You set the stage for a living story. every token, every location, every card is primed to drag you deeper into the mythos. Now that you know how to set up the table and start your first scenario, it's time to see how the game really plays out. In Act 3, we're diving deep into turn structure, the actions you'll take, and exactly how skill test and combat feel in practice. This is where Arkham transformed from cardboard and tokens to sheer narrative tensions. Now that the table is set up, the investigators are ready, and the counter deck is lurking. Let's talk about Arkham Horror actually plays on the table, because this is where the game stops being cardboard and starts feeling like a living, breathing horror story. Every round of Arkham follows the same rhythm: the mythos phase, the investigation phase, and the enemy phase, and then the upkeep phase. Sounds simple, but every one of those steps is dripping with tension. Mythos phase: Doom advances on the agenda deck. Bad things start happening. Every player draws from the encounter deck. That means trouble, right? Enemies spawning, treacheries slamming you with board state, or nasty effects that force you to make painful choices. The game doesn't wait for you to be ready. Arkham always strikes first. Investigation phase. This is your time. Each investigator gets 3 actions. You can do a lot with them. Move from one location to another. Investigate to discover clues, which you'll spend to advance the act deck. Play cards to bring out allies, weapons, or spells. Fight or evade enemies that have latched onto you. Or just draw a card or gain resources to keep momentum. And here's where the map comes alive. Unlike most card games, you just have a static board. Arkham builds the story out of location cards. At the start, you might only see a couple, like your study, a hallway, but as you move, you'll reveal new rooms, streets, or eerie woods. The table expands as you explore. And suddenly, you're not just playing cards, you're creeping through a haunted house, or running across town, or venturing into alien dimensions. Each location has a strat value. That's how hard it is to investigate. And a clue value, how many secrets are waiting in that room. Pull it off and you feel like a genius detective. Fail the test and you've wasted precious time. And in Arkham, time is your most valuable currency. Skills tests in Arkham, almost everything in Arkham comes down to skill test. You take your investigator's stat, add bonuses from cards and icons you commit, and then you reach into that dreaded chaos bag. Draw a token. Apply the modifier. See if you succeed. Some tokens are brutal, like the tentacle, which is always an autofill. Others tie into the scenario-specific effect, twisting the knife just when you thought you were safe. And here's the beauty of it. Even simple actions become cinematic. When you pull a clutch +1 and barely land that clue that advances the act, you'll cheer. When you draw the tentacle while swinging a shotgun at a monster, you'll groan. The chaos bag makes every test feel alive. Enemy phase. If monsters are on the board, this is when they come for you. They'll engage, attack, drain your sanity or your health. Some patrol, some stalk you, some hit the entire group. It keeps you on the edge because ignoring enemies never works for long. Upkeep phase. You get a breather. Ready your exhausted cards, draw a new one, gain a resource. It's a small reset before the Mythos phase comes back swinging. That's the loop. Mythos strike, investigators scramble, enemies lash back, and then you reset over and over and over until either the agenda crushes you or you claw your way to victory by advancing the act. And what makes this flow so special is that the map, the chaos bag, and the story all evolve together. One turn you're exploring your home, the next you're fighting ghouls in a cellar. Then suddenly you're sprinting across town as doom ticks. It's not just a game, it's a story you're inside of. And we're just scratching the surface because Arkham isn't just about surviving one scenario. It's a campaign. In Act 4, We'll talk about what happens between scenarios, upgrading your deck, carrying trauma forward, and how expansions create epic, interconnected cycles of play. Stick around, this is where Arkham shows off its depths. Alright, now that you've seen how a single scenario plays out, let's zoom out, look at what makes Arkham Horror LCG more than just a one-night experience, because this game isn't built for one-shots. It's a campaign game, through and through, and that campaign structure is where it earns its legendary status. When you finish a scenario, win or lose, the story doesn't just reset. Instead, you record your results in a campaign log. Did you manage to save the professor? Did you burn down the house? Did your investigator collapse in horror halfway through? All of those outcomes shape what happens next. And here's the twist. Even if you fail, the story keeps moving. You might stumble into the next chapter carrying trauma, or with fewer allies, or with a city more overrun than before. Arkham doesn't hand out do-overs. It tells you, live with the consequences. The design is brilliant because it makes every decision, every token pull, every card commit feel weighty. Now let's talk about the campaign reward system. After each scenario, investigators earn experience points, usually from story resolution or clearing victory point location. XP is your ticket to upgrade your deck. You'll swap out weaker cards for stronger ones, more specialized options. Maybe you start with a basic 38 revolver, but with XP, you'll grab the upgrade version that hits a little bit harder, reload smarter. Or maybe you'll replace a clunky spell with a leaner, deadlier one. Over time, your deck evolves alongside your character. It's like leveling up in an RPG, but built in your card pool. Of course, it's not all positive. Investigators can earn trauma, physical or mental scars, that carry forward permanently. If you're defeated by damage, you'll take physical trauma. If your horror breaks you, you take mental trauma. That means starting every future scenario a little closer to death or madness. It's punishing, it's terrifying, and it makes long campaigns feel like survival sagas. And speaking of campaigns, this is where Arkham's expansions model shines. Fantasy Flight releases the game in cycle. Each cycle is a full story arc, usually 8 scenarios long, that takes you from the quiet streets of Arkham into escalating, mind-bending horror. Originally, cycles were released in a clunky deluxe box plus 6 mytho packs format. But now everything is streamlined into 2 products per cycle. Campaign expansion is all the story, scenario, maps, and encounter sets. Investigator expansion, all the new investigator and player cards. It's so much cleaner. 2 boxes and you got the full arc. So what's the order? Here's the cycle schedule you need to know in 2025. Start with the revised core set. Then Dunwich Legacy still is the best first campaign. Then move into the Path of Carcosa, dripping with paranormal and fan favorite story beats. From there, try the Forgotten Age for jungle exploration or the Circle Undone for occult mysteries. Next up, Edge of the Earth, an icy Antarctica nightmare. Then, the Scarlet Keys, which flips the script into open world investigation. And the newest entries, the Feast of Hemlock Vale and the Drowned City. Both use the modern 2-box system, both loaded with refined design, and both show how far Arkham has come since 2016. Each cycle adds not just story, but new mechanic and investigator archetypes. Carcosa introduced doubt and conviction. Forgotten Age adds supply management. Scarlet Keys experiments with branching routes. They keep the game fresh, and they keep you coming back for more. And if you're wondering, yes, you can play these cycles in almost any order, but for first-timers, the progression of Dunwich into Carcosa into newer sets feels natural. That's why the campaign layer in Arkham's secret weapon. You don't just play scenarios, you live them. You grow stronger, but the world grows darker, and every decision you make echoes forward. And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, Act 5. Why Arkham Horror LCG stands out among all the other games on your shelf. In this last section, we'll talk about the deck building depth, the role of investigator plays, and why this game has earned a permanent spot as one of my all-time favorites. We've talked about what Arkham Horror LCG is, how it is set up, how it plays, and how the campaign evolves. But now it's time for the real question. Why does this game stand out? Out of all the other card games, all the other cooperative titles, all the Lovecraft spin-offs, why does this one still sit at the top of my shelf? It's because Arkham Horror LCG is more than mechanic. It's an experience. Every play session is a story you remember. Not a generic puzzle, not just moving tokens around. A real narrative. You'll tell your friends, remember that time Roland got mauled in the cellar, but Daisy saved us with a clutch shivering spell? Or remember when the whole team resigned early because we were out of ammo and out of sanity? The game generates those war stories and what keeps people hooked year after year. And a huge part of that is the deck building system. Every investigator has a class: Guardian, Seeker, Rogue, Mystic, Survivor, and every class has its own playstyle. Guardians bring weapons and protection. Seekers vacuum up clues with unmatched efficiency. Rogues take big risks for big rewards, swimming in money and tricks. Mystics bend reality with spells, manipulating the chaos bag like fortune tellers. And survivors, they thrive on failure, turning bad luck into triumph. When you mix those classes into different investigators, you get infinite replayability. One campaign, you're a bookish clue hound. The next, you're a brawler with a shotgun. Then you're a mystic throwing fireballs. The best part, as campaigns progress, your deck evolves. You earn XP, buy new cards, trim out the weak ones. Your build gets sharper, stronger, more thematic. It feels like character growth, not just mechanical, but narrative. Roland starts as a basic cop with a revolver, but by the end, he's decked out with enchanted weapons, allies who've seen horrors too dark to name. The RPG-like progression is unmatched. And then there's a cycle schedule. Fantasy Flight has turned Arkham into a living, breathing saga. With the revised core set, Dunwich Legacy, Path of Carcosa, and now Feast for Hemlock Vale in the Drowned City, you've got literally years of content. Each cycle experiments with theme, mechanic, open world Scarlet Keys, brutal Forgotten Age, chilling Edge of Earth. The game never stagnates. You've always got something new on the horizon, some new investigator to test, some new horror to endure. But here's what I love most. Losing is part of the fun. Arkham Horror doesn't treat failure as the end. You stumble, you scar, you limp into the next scenario, and the story keeps going. Sometimes your best memories come from disaster. The tentacle token, the doomed dice roll, the campaign you survive by the skin of your teeth. That blend of narrative, unpredictability, and consequences make Arkham Horror feel alive. Now, yes, the product line is overwhelming, and yes, it can be a money sink if you want it all. But that's why this guide exists, to show you how to start with the revised core set, branch into Dunwich Legacy and Carcosa, and then decide if you want casual story seeker, a deck building addict, a group night player, or a full collector. Whatever your play style, Arkham has a path for you. So there it is, investigators. The overview, the setup, the play, the deck building, the campaign, and why Arkham stands out as a modern classic. If you're ready to start your journey, grab the revised core set, pick your first investigator, and shuffle up Night of the Zealot. And from there, the path through Dunwich, Carcosa, and beyond is waiting for you. This has been Tabletop Nexus. Drop your favorite Arkham moment in the comments. Let's swap stories from the mythos. And remember, sometimes surviving isn't about winning. It's about making it through the night.